friends. Welcome to CoreLight's Spiritual Weather Report. It's August 23rd, 2026, and this is Brad, and I'm in Taos, New Mexico. I'm here doing some reconnaissance for a retreat that I'm planning to lead next year. I just love being back in New Mexico. Leslie and I lived here for 25 years. New Mexico is called the land of enchantment for a very good reason. It is just a truly beautiful, mystical, very spiritually powerful place. Anyway, the intensity continues. I wonder if you're feeling it like I am. I hope all is well for you. Are you coping okay? We're just coming out of the Lion's Gate, that window that we talked about in the last spiritual weather report. And like I was saying last month, it was an especially supercharged Lion's Gate. But it does feel like the energy is starting to settle a bit and the intensity is completing. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that today. So before we get started, I just want to welcome everybody who's new to CoreLight and also welcome to all of our old friends too. Whether you're listening live or in the future, it doesn't really matter. We're all in the field of love that exists in the eternal present moment anyway. So no matter what linear time you're tuning in, we're all here now. So for those of you who are new, every month I tune in on what's happening in the collective consciousness, and I'm always shown a few key themes to talk about on these calls. And pulling up my notes here, today, the main theme is the great turning, midwifing the new paradigm. And there are three sub-themes. They are, number one, liquefaction. I love that word, liquefaction, when the caterpillar has no choice. Number two, holding the tension, how unity consciousness is born. And number three, little creator gods, why art is not optional. So stay tuned for all of that. And again, for anybody who's new, I start by offering a guided meditation, and then we speak about the prevailing energies that are affecting us, and also about the spiritual principles that are most helpful for us right now. And then we have time for questions and answers. And we close with a brief guided meditation or a prayer or whatever we have time for. If you need to leave before the call ends, you can always listen to the recording later on our free resources page at corelight.org. We do send out the link to our email list, and it's also posted on YouTube. So before we get started, I'm going to read a few little housekeeping updates. First of all, I wanted to mention, because of my work and travel schedule, in September, there won't be a spiritual weather report in September. We're going to skip September, and the next spiritual weather report will be October 25th. Next, our new course, The Marriage of Spirit. It starts on September 9th, coming up very quickly here. So I invite you to check that out at corelight.org. And I'm especially excited about this course. It's really the cornerstone of the path of self-discovery that we teach at CoreLight. It's based in Leslie's original audios that were used to create the Marriage of Spirit book. It's called The Marriage of Spirit: Enlightened Living in Today's World. And we've created a few free offerings in the last few weeks to introduce the course. Not sure if you saw the emails that came out about all that, but I'm just going to list them here real quickly. The most recent one was just a few days ago. We put out a new short little video of Leslie talking about the Marriage of Spirit. It's very sweet. It's archival footage, and I really like it. I offer that to you as a gift, and if you're interested, it's there on the website, corelight.org, on the Marriage of Spirit site, at least the Marriage of Spirit online course site. There's also a page about the book as well. We had also, a few weeks ago, we released a playlist of Leslie's audio clips from the course on YouTube. That's also there at the Marriage of Spirit online course page at corelight.org. There's also an introductory webinar where my friend and colleague Helene Wabe interviewed me and dialogued with me about the course. That was especially fun and uplifting, so that's there for you if that's of interest. All of that's there on the website. And I'm going to be there throughout the course as a guide. We'll have three teaching sessions, Q&A sessions on Zoom. It's not required that you be available in real time because you have the course for 6 months. You can ask your questions in advance of the Q&A calls and then get the recording. So I'm really proud of this course. I just love how it came out. We put a lot of time and energy into it. It's especially beautiful. It's impeccably presented. And like I said, this is really the cornerstone of what we do at Corelight. The marriage of spirit is at the heart of it. These little practices are life-changing, and especially the witnessing practice that we talk about so often on these calls. If that interests you, we're going to take a deeper dive into all of that. So if you feel called, I invite you to please tune in, see if you're called, and if you are, I would love to see you there. Next, I'm offering a 2-week retreat in South Africa called Return to Joy. It's February 28th through March 13th of 2027. There's also another one for our Portuguese speakers, mainly our Brazilian community, April 11th through 24th. We hold these retreats at the Blyder River Canyon, South Africa, one of the most exquisitely beautiful, spiritually powerful places in the world that I've ever been. And these retreats are so incredibly special because we not only spend time in meditation, but I get to share, quote unquote, my South Africa with you. We go to visit the White Lions. An incredible experience, life-changing experience to be with the White Lions. Also, we go to the Kruger National Park, where all the wild African animals are. It's the size of New Jersey with a fence around it, and all the animals are inside. So we get to go be with them, and that is truly magical. We also have an authentic experience of South Africa. We go to visit the rural villages near where we live and where our humanitarian arm, Seeds of Light, supports the marginalized community there, especially the children. There are a lot of vulnerable children, orphan children, and we have lots of projects to support them. So if you're interested, please go to corelight.org to our events page and you can check out those retreats. I'm also offering some in-person events in the US coming up. At the first one is at the Unity Church of Tustin, California on September 27th. Also, the Unity Church of Tucson, Arizona on October 4th. Both of these are called Peace Begins Within, Mind Yoga for a Polarized World. You can also learn more about those at our events page at corelight.org, and I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you in person there. Lastly, August is the birthday month of my beloved spouse and life partner, Leslie Temple Thurston. Her 80th birthday was August 12th, and we are celebrating by offering a special sale of her sacred art for the entire month of August. It's 25% off all the sacred art Leslie created, plus 50% off the newest piece that we just released. I invite you to go check that out at corelight.org. You click on the Sacred Art Gallery page. So, without further ado, let us begin with our guided meditation. I invite you now to close your eyes and get comfortable. Whether you're sitting or lying down, I invite you to take a few long, slow, deep breaths and just let go. Deeply relaxing with each exhale, breathing in all the light and the life force that surrounds you, and breathing out any tension in the body. Breathing in peace and breathing out stress. Breathing in the present moment. And breathing out any worries about the past or the future. Just being right here, right now. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Just being fully present. And now I invite you to do a scan of the physical body with me and relax all of the muscles from head to fingertips and toes. So we begin with the scalp. Just feel and visualize a warm, viscous liquid pouring over the top of your head like honey, relaxing all of the muscles it touches. Relaxing especially the forehead and the eyes, places where we hold a lot of tension. Just feeling all the little tiny muscles around your eyes relaxing, letting go the eyelids, the eyeballs themselves, just relaxing so deeply that the eyeballs just fall back gently into their sockets, resting deeply. And feeling all of the muscles of the face relaxing, the ears, the nose, cheeks, mouth, chin, back of the head, neck, shoulders. Feeling this warmth, this flow of energy flowing down your arms and sweeping you free and clear of any tension being held onto in the arms, all the way down to the fingertips. Feeling it relax your shoulders very deeply, like an angel standing behind you, giving you a shoulder rub. Just feeling those warm, strong hands rubbing your shoulders and relaxing you, filling you with light and deep peace. Relaxing the torso, chest, upper back, diaphragm, stomach, lower back. Let's take a long, slow, deep breath, breathing light into the top of the head, down into the belly, deep down into the belly, stretching the diaphragm just very gently, and then letting go with an exhale, releasing all the stress and the tension. Let's do another one of those. Breathing light into the top of the head, all the way down to the belly. Filling your lungs and your diaphragm, and then releasing. Just feeling the deep relaxation with each exhale. And one more breath. Breathing all the way down deep into the belly. And letting go with the exhale. And now feeling the pelvis and the legs relaxing and letting go all the way down to the toes. And now I invite you to put your awareness on the top of the head, the crown chakra. If you're not familiar with the crown chakra, it sits on the top of the head like a crown that a king or a queen would wear. And it opens up and out like a funnel. So let's feel and visualize the crown chakra unfurling on top of the head like a 1,000-petaled lotus, opening up petal by petal. It's okay if you don't feel this, you can just visualize it. Opening up and out. And feel your core energy flowing out the top of your head like a tube of light going out into formless space. and connecting with a source of universal energy. It might look like a spiral galaxy or a star or a group of celestial beings, angels, guides, pouring light down into you through the crown. Feel that source of universal energy. It's your energy. It's your soul's energy, highest energy pouring down into your body, drawing it in, sucking it into your body like a straw, like through a straw, filling you up with light and love, golden white light. So feel and visualize your physical body and your aura filling up with beautiful golden white light. As you do this, I'm going to say a little prayer and an invocation for our call today. We call on Great Spirit, Divine Mother, Father God, the self that we all are. Thank you so much for the blessing of this time we get to share together. We're so deeply grateful for these bodies, these physical bodies we get to wear at this amazing time on planet Earth, time of great transition and transformation. Thank you for the blessing of this field of love that we get to share. Please guide our conversation into the highest love and the highest wisdom, and wrap us up in a cocoon of beautiful golden white light and love and healing energy, filling us up. Even though we do a lot of talking on these calls, one of the most important aspects of these calls is the energy transmission. So I invite you to feel this, feel the love, the field of love that surrounds us. Feel it pouring into your body from all sides, just receiving this beautiful transmission of love and light and healing energy. Just receiving, just going in, going receptive, going passive, and receiving all the light and the love that surrounds us. It's here for us all the time. Before we close our guided meditation, let's take a moment to send a blessing from our hearts out to the whole planet Earth, especially to any living being that suffers for any reason, especially areas that are war-torn, people, areas that are affected by war, terrorism, genocide. Bless all the peoples, the whole of the natural world. Especially bless all the areas on Earth that are affected by fire right now. I know here in the Western United States, there's so many fires burning. And I know across Europe as well, and probably many other places too. Bless the horses, the wild horses of North America. And I invite you now to say a special prayer for any person or any special place on Earth or any animal species that you would like love and light to be sent to. Any place or person that's struggling, any beings that are struggling, challenged for any reason. And we give thanks knowing that this is so. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Alalaho. Alalaho is Tibetan for Amen, and it means, isn't it wonderful? Now I invite you to slowly bring your awareness back into the room and into your physical body. Slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you feel ready, please open your eyes. I'd like to start today with a few quotes, as always. I'm going to read them to you. The first quote is by Rumi. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Another one by Rumi. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. Picasso. Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. And there's one more. This quote comes from some friends of mine, Trisha and Derek. I am the one who creates. The light flows through me, and reality bends to my joy. Okay, so the first topic for today is liquefaction, when the caterpillar has no choice. So, like I said before, we've just gone through the Lion's Gate and we've come out the other side of some pretty intense energies and astrology, including a very powerful eclipse. Like I talked about last month, the Lion's Gate is always the most powerful time of the year energetically. It's always filled with enormous potential, but this particular Lion's Gate was especially supercharged. So I don't know about you, but it really, really affected me very deeply. And I've heard from quite a few people for whom that's true as well. And it could be manifesting for you in many different ways. So I thought I would just talk about it a little bit in case that might be you. There are a lot of people are experiencing extreme highs and lows, mood swings, uh, feeling like it's the best of times, and then almost at the exact same moment, feeling like it's the worst of times. There are a lot of new beginnings, a lot of releasing of the old. Um, these energies are manifesting as physical changes, physical challenges, some big, some small, different, for different people, depending on what's going on in your life. Um, I know not everybody's experiencing extreme levels of it, but I thought I better speak about it today, especially for those of you who are experiencing some extremes, just so that you know you're not alone. And I count myself in that. It's pretty extreme for me, and I'll share more about that. Um, and if you happen to be one of the ones having an easy time right now, good for you. It's you're blessed. And if that's you, just enjoy it. It does not mean you're missing out at all. So you can just relax and enjoy it. But if that is you, I think I can share a few things that might be helpful. And actually, as I said before, the energy's starting to smooth out a little bit now that the Lion's Gate has completed. So even if you've been experiencing intensity and challenges, there is a bit of quietude happening on the inner planes at the moment. And that also feels very, very welcome. Um, but it's important to remember that the physical world and the physical body lag behind a little bit. And so you might be experiencing some fallout from the intensity of the Lion's Gate in a physical way. I know I am. So I thought by way of an example, I might I might share my personal experience with you in case it's helpful. A couple of weeks ago, I visited my parents' house. I was there for a week to celebrate my father's 90th birthday. It's amazing, 90th. It's a huge milestone. And it was a lot of fun. And, a lot of friends and family came in from all around the world to honor and celebrate my father. And I was the MC of the big event, the big celebration. Um, and I think I've shared this before, but when I'm with my parents now, there's really nothing left but just tremendous amounts of love. I say this as a testimony for anyone who is doing the clearing work, the egoic clearing work that we teach at CoreLight. Any kind of shadow work that you're doing, not just through CoreLight, but in any way that you do it, it does result in such deep clearing that, like my experience has been, there's nothing that remains except love with between me and my parents. So, I experienced when I was with them all that love and deep gratitude and just joy and the poignancy of the moment, for having my dad reach that milestone of 90. Um, but I guess it's important also to speak about, and this is the part I guess I wanted to speak about the most, is about the challenges. If you're sensitive, like I am, I know many of us listening to this call, probably everybody is a sensitive to some degree, and being around a lot of people who are partying, who, people who are in a third dimensional consciousness, if you will, acting unconsciously, um, it can be hard. It can be very draining. In a situation like that, most people are not very conscious. They're operating from ego. They're doing a lot of projecting onto other people. And for sensitives, that can be super draining, especially when some of the projections might be aimed at you. So, as an empath, which, like I said, so many of us are, you often end up taking on other people's shadow and their emotional stuff. And if you know how to work with that energy, it can pass right through you, but sometimes it gets stuck, and that can have its challenges, especially on the physical body. Um, and for many of us, anyone who's empathic, we just can't help it. I know that's true for me. I've worked on this, and I'm better than I used to be, but I don't claim to be perfect. Um, as an empath, you just naturally take on other people's pain and shadow sometimes. It just happens, even with diligence. It's like, you remind yourself, or you might have a teacher that tells you don't do that. And it's sort of like saying, don't breathe, because it's so natural that it just happens. And I know that that's been true for me, and that's part of my journey. Anyway, that I think that's another discussion for another time. I didn't plan on talking about that today, but I share it just in case that you resonate with that. That it's it can just come so naturally. It's literally like breathing to be empathic and to want to help people, and to that results in taking on some of their emotions and their shadows. So for me, I tend to process a lot of stuff through my body, my physical body. And not everybody does that. Some people process more mentally or emotionally, or, different people process energies at different levels. It's just whatever we choose to do in this lifetime. Um, you know, it's just an internal process, and we do it in whatever way works best for us. Um, but the energetic process can become physical, and that's really hard on the physical body. Um, but it also has its advantages to work that way. It's great in the sense that you can't ignore it, you have to deal with it. It's like here, it's in the physical body, and there's no denying it. So I think that's probably why, as a soul, that I chose that path to work a lot of things out physically. Um, the truth is, I believe that it's actually so much better to try to catch things at a mental, emotional, spiritual level. Actually, spiritual first, mental next, emotional next, because that's the level that processes come in. They first come in spiritually. We try to catch it there. If we don't catch it there, it comes in mentally. That's a great place to catch it. You can work with it and release it. If we don't catch it there, it comes in emotionally, getting denser with the layers. And if we don't catch it there, then it becomes physical. And you really have to deal with it at that point. So, so that's my practice anyway. I know that's what Leslie taught. It's been my practice. And yet, even knowing that and even working with that, sometimes things become physical. And I really think that that's just part of being human. Being in a human body on planet Earth, sometimes things manifest physically for us so that we'll learn the lessons. And anyway, like I said, my personal example right now is that I came away, this was a couple weeks ago, and ever since then, I came away with some mysterious mid back pain that I've never had before in my life. And so I'm still working with that and clearing it, and still not 100% sure what it is exactly. I think I know, and I'm doing my work with it. Um, if you remember what we talked about last month, one of the themes was endings and new beginnings, and that theme is carrying over into this month as well. And I think the image I gave last month was of the caterpillar liquefying before it turns into a butterfly. Um, and that has just been playing out for me in a huge way. And I'm imagining that it's also playing out for others. Um, I'm going to be concise. I don't want to go into this too deeply. I guess suffice it to say that um, I've been processing some pretty intense mid back pain, and I'm seeing that it has a lot to do with letting go. In consciousness, the back is where we put things that we don't necessarily want to look at or deal with. It's unconscious. So, for example, some things that might cause us emotional pain. So for me personally, it's the process of examining all of that again for the umpteenth time. And like Leslie used to say, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. See how you do. So I've been looking at specifically the main thing is what are what are some of the things that some part of me is probably resisting letting go of? And the pain specifically is in my mid back behind my heart. So I realize that it's got something to do with resisting letting go of the people I love. And, you know, probably resulting in taking on some of the pain and some of the challenges that they might be going through. And, and so this is how the power of this time has outpictured for me. I share that with you in case it's helpful. I would be curious to hear how it's manifesting for you. Like I said, the most powerful time of the year. So I know we're all going through something to some degree, even if it's not major. But I wonder, you know, how many of you have been experiencing that intensity that I'm describing? I'd love to hear from you if you care to share with me. You can always send messages to courses@corelight.org, and that gets to me. So I know some people who are going through major changes, things like selling their longtime home or moving, or changing jobs, having accidents, health crises, surgeries, money changes, all kinds of things, breakups. But also the new is beginning as well, starting something new, like a new job or a new relationship coming in. So while all this is happening, the big question is, how is your witnessing practice going? Are you staying on your surfboard? Are you maintaining your awareness, remembering who you truly are, that this too shall pass, and you will remain, you as soul essence? So I guess speaking of all this, I wanted to tell you that because of the back pain, I can't sit for very long. And I have the feeling I'm going to need to end this weather report a little sooner than I usually do. So I'm sorry about that. But the physical body is talking to me, and I'm learning to listen. Long ago, I used to override the messages from the physical body, but I don't do that anymore. Uh, I think when we're younger and we think we're indestructible, it's a little easier to ignore those messages from the physical body. But I guess I'm realizing that part of the message here is that I need to slow down a little bit. I need to rest more. I need to breathe more, follow my own teachings more. I've really been on the go and juggling a lot of projects. So the message from the body is just pause, just rest. So I'll be ending the call a little early today, presumably. I hope you don't mind. Um, I thought keeping it short rather than just canceling would be best. There's so much going on. I really didn't want to miss this opportunity to check in with you and reconnect, even if it's brief. So I thank you for understanding. Um, where to begin? I feel like so much is happening and so much is coming, and I wonder if you can feel that. So many people, almost everybody I talk to, it feels as though we are poised, we are ready, we're waiting. There's a massive change coming. The new paradigm of the heart, as we talk about it, is birthing, and we're the midwives. And I wonder if you can feel that. Almost everybody I know is. Like I said, something's coming. It's a very exciting time. We're in the midst of this great turning, the turning of the ages, and it just feels like any day something something could happen to create a tipping point, like a major change is right there, like we're right on the threshold of it. Um, you really don't hear about this in the mainstream, the legacy media, but you do hear about it in other places. There are podcasts and alternative media where you hear people talking about it more, that there's an awakening happening. More and more people are realizing that I would say they're realizing that turning inward is the key. So many people have been focused on, changing the outside, fixing the problem. If only we could elect a certain person, or if only, this we could stop this certain thing from happening. And, I'm not saying that's not important. It's some people are doing great work in the world, and that's what their soul is calling them to do. That's their sole purpose, to be on the front lines and to be out there making those physical changes. But I think so many more people are waking up to the realization that it's an inside job, turning inward and raising our consciousness, holding a high vibration. These are the keys to the change that's happening. It's what so many of us have been working towards for such a long time. And as we often talk about on these calls, one of the principles behind that is maintaining our joy, maintaining our gratitude, maintaining those high vibrations, even during times of change. And it is possible to do that. It's possible to maintain our joy, to maintain our gratitude, to maintain a high vibration uh, during challenging times. That's been my practice. And especially lately with the back pain, I'm always reminding myself of that, and even though there's been extraordinary pain, I've had to lie down quite a bit. Um, I just can't help but feel so much gratitude, so much joy for all the beauty, for all the gifts of this life. Um, I've been talking to my body a lot, thanking my body, listening to my body, rejoicing that I have a body, even when it's in pain. And, remembering it's just such a gift to have a human body at this extraordinary time on planet Earth, this time of the great turning. So I wonder where you are at with all of that. Are you feeling this? Are you feeling what I'm feeling? Are you feeling what I'm describing? Just the excitement, the inspiration, even amidst the changes and challenges. I would love to hear from you if you care to share with me. Again, you can send messages to courses@corelight.org. It really helps me to hear from you. Helps me keep a tab. Like I get these really strong sensations, these feelings of what's going on in the collective. But when I hear from a person and see the really practical example of how it outpictures for each of us, it helps me to fill the picture in. So I always read everything that comes to me. I don't always have a chance to respond to everybody, but I invite you and welcome you to share if you care to do that. The next topic, holding the tension, how unity consciousness is born. And this is one of the main things I really wanted to share today is about what we call the either or mind. Um, so the either or mind is what happens when we take a position on one side of a polarity, right or wrong, winner or loser, good or bad. And the big one that's being tossed around, especially by politicians and so-called leaders these days, is the one that we all have heard too many times. If you're not with us, you're against us. We've been hearing that for decades, and it's just so worn out. It's so old. I don't think anybody is really buying into that anymore that I know, anyway. Some people I'm sure are, but it's just such nonsense, That is such limited thinking. It is the most stuck kind of consciousness. When we're stuck in the either or mind, we lose that all-encompassing awareness that connects the sides, the two sides of any polarity. And that's the essence of the separate system. And we've lived in that separate system on planet Earth for millennia, and that's what's coming to an end. That kind of disconnection that comes from the either or mind spirals into the hatred and the war. And we're seeing that playing out in the world right now. And the truth of it is that there are a million shades of gray in between the black and the white. And that's the world of nuance and subtlety. But when we're constantly in what I would say heavy judgment, always making things either negative or positive, good or bad, that's when we're in this black and white thinking, and that is what blocks us from experiencing the wholeness, the intrinsic isness of all of creation. And that's the true nature of reality. And that's our birthright to know that, to actually embody that, and be one with that. Learning to see with true eyes. It's really about transcending that either or mind and becoming aware of the million shades of gray and all the subtleties and nuances of this beautiful, beautiful world that we get to inhabit for a few years. And when we can see both sides, and when when we're able to hold the tension between the two sides, that is the opening into unity consciousness. It's in that we open to that opportunity to choose connection over separation, to choose love over fear. And we are in such a remarkable time to be practicing this. It's the practice that we call witnessing. I know I speak about it every month on these calls. If you're a regular listener, you hear me talk about it all the time. And really, one of the main parts of witnessing is that holding of the tension between the two sides of a polarity. It's what opens the potential for what Carl Jung called the third option. And that is the solution, or the resolution that we were maybe unable to even imagine before. It's like magic. It's sort of like the great mystery revealed, the peace that was waiting for us that we were unable to see. It comes when we practice that. The third option manifests when we don't choose a side, but we practice just being with both sides and allowing both sides for as long as it takes. So, for example, one of the practices that we talk a lot about on these spiritual weather reports is the practice of neither believing nor disbelieving. Practicing neither believing nor disbelieving allows us to receive all information, all possibilities with an even mind, and to learn to use our discernment. And eventually, when we hold the tension between those two sides long enough, that is when the truth emerges and we're able to discern that truth. So, if this topic is of interest to you, we're going to be diving deeper into that, into how to witness, how to deepen your witnessing practice in the upcoming course, the Marriage of Spirit course. I've made a few new guided meditations, and we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the witnessing practice and the clearing practices. So, I wanted to share an example of this that came to mind recently when I was talking with a friend. There was a friend of mine who he was expressing his discomfort with fundamentalism, the rigid nature of fundamentalist religions, and he was saying how much it bothered him when he sees people drawing such rigid boundaries and making things so black and white. And it was his observation that there was a rise of fundamentalism in the world, and he wondered why that was, and he was telling me how he was even a little scared. It scared him. So I found myself, I remembered a story, and I thought I would share it with you because I remember it was quite a profound awakening for me when Leslie shared this story with me. It was long ago in the early 1990s, and Leslie had a student who was this lovely, lovely woman. We were quite close friends. She would even come over to our house. Um, I don't want to go into too many details, but she was a veterinarian and she would occasionally bring, a cat and her kittens over and we'd all snuggle with the cat and the kittens. And we had a deep bond with this woman. And then one day, out of the blue, we got a package in the mail from her. It was a big box. And we opened it up, and inside it were all of the audio tapes that she had ever gotten from Corelight and a note that said she had become a born again Christian, that she'd found Jesus, she'd found her church and her tribe. And she said she thought we were of the devil. And I mean, it was a shock. It, that kind of thing is a shock. And so Leslie actually, there are very, very few times in my life when I remember her getting upset at all. It was very, very hard to ruffle Leslie's feathers. But this was one time, it was so confusing and abrupt. And she said she talked to her spiritual guides. She's clairaudient, so she talks to them inwardly and they respond and she hears the voice. And she said to them, she called on Jesus actually, and she said, "How can you, how can you allow this to go on in your name? What is this about?" Um, and she told me that Jesus and her guides spoke to her at length about this, and they said, I'm going to summarize. They basically said the times that we're living in, and we were really just starting to enter them in the early 1990s. They become more accelerated since. But they explained that the times that we're in are full of such significant change and so many challenges that for some souls, it's very important that uh, that they they find a way to, it's like a box they need to be in a box where there are very rigid rules about what is good and what's bad, what's right and what's wrong. And it keeps them in that box because the way they explained it to Leslie is that it's essentially a safety mechanism for those souls, that otherwise they might get very lost in this lifetime and incur some really negative karma. So even though to many of us, when we look at that from the outside, it seems very strange and you know, even wrong that that should be the case. For some souls, having very clear black and white rules between what's good and what's bad is a protection in a way, and it's a way to remain safe, so that they don't get lost in this lifetime. So anyway, I thought I would share that story with you in case it's helpful. I know it was helpful for my friend, and it was very helpful for me when I first heard it. So to close out on this topic, you know, we are coming to the close of a very, very, very long age, a long cycle. It's what I said, you know, it's called the Great Turning. A lot of people call it the Great Turning. It's the completion of the system of separation and the birthing of this thing we call the new paradigm of the heart. And we are seeing a lot of crazy stuff going on. So much playing out, and sometimes it feels a little bit like the world's gone mad. I know in the last couple of spiritual weather reports, we've talked about how it feels like the law of the jungle is what's prevailing. You know, might makes right. And it feels like the end of the rule of law, and international law has gone out the window. It's the end of diplomacy. And I just have to acknowledge, I mean, it does look that way in many ways. Um, but even so, it's important to remember that the system of separation has to play itself out. We have to see it. We've got to see it in all its glory. All the unconscious aspects need to come out and be made conscious. We have to see it in all its glory in order for it to complete. So, as a result of that, the shadow is up everywhere. Every country is experiencing its shadow. I travel a lot and I see this firsthand, but I'm sure if you're tracking the world news, you also see it in the world news. And I hear from people, people all over the world listen to the weather report, and I get notes from people about what's happening in their country. And, you know, there's nowhere you can go on Earth right now where the shadow is not rising up for examination and release. Every country has its own flavor of shadow. I would say it's all pretty similar. You know, it's all about power and control and money when you come right down to it. But every country has its own little nuance of that, its own flavor. Um, so for thousands of years, we've been living in this system where we've been learning lessons about power and control. Some people would say that it's learning lessons about the abuse of control, and I don't argue with that. Um, and we're certainly seeing that play out right now, everywhere in the world. And war is a direct result of that. War is a direct result of the either or mind, which I would say is the hallmark or a hallmark of the separate system and of the ego. Um, so even though it's a very challenging time with all of the war, all of the suffering on our planet, um, and it's especially hard for empaths and for sensitive people, we have to keep in mind that we're coming to the end of this very, very long cycle, and that it's completing. All is not lost. So what can we do about it? How can we help birth the new paradigm of the heart? I think it's most important to remember that it's all an inside job. And I know we talk a lot about that on these calls. But at another level of consciousness, that is the truth. We are not the victims of this. One of the most empowering things we can do right now is to look inside, to go within and clear our own consciousness. So we can ask ourselves, where do we hold an either or mind? Where do we have any heavy judgments about anything? Where are we using black and white thinking? Where are we choosing fear over love, separation over connection? And then we can do some inner work on that. Naming it is the first step, but then we practice our self-inquiry and we do some kind of clearing work on those parts of us that are still living in that kind of limitation. You know, that's why we're here. That's literally our soul's purpose. It's our growth time. We can clear those patterns. It's the most empowering thing we can do is to look within, do the self-inquiry and clear those patterns. And I'm sure I'm singing to the choir. I would think if you're listening to this that you know all that, but it's always a good reminder, I think. It's what CORELIGHT'S tagline says, change the world by changing yourself. And I really do know the truth of that's the greatest gift we can give the world, our own cleared consciousness. It's our own spiritual awakening. Okay, I think that's enough on that topic. Here's our last topic for today. Little creator gods. I love that. Little creator gods. Why art is not optional. So I was talking with another friend recently, and we were both commenting on the importance of having a creative outlet. And so I wonder how many of you practice something, some kind of art, some kind of creativity. I would love to hear from you. If you do something, I'd love to know what that is. Please share if you feel like it. I was saying to my friend how important I think creativity is. That's been my experience. It's how we move divine energy through our bodies and create a flow, which is so incredibly healing and empowering, especially in challenging times. It brings so much joy. It's a way to keep our vibration very high. Um, I mentioned before at the beginning of the call about Leslie's Sacred Art Gallery, and we're having the big sale this month for her birthday month. And it reminds me that Leslie, before she was a spiritual teacher, she was an art teacher. She was a professional painter, and then she became an art teacher uh, for children specifically. And she told me, she said she always knew how important it was to teach children art because when children learn art, they realize they're not empty inside. They learn that there's always a creative solution within themselves to any challenge that arises. So, they can pull something out from within. And that's one of the greatest empowerments for a child. So what we did 25 years ago or so, we started a children's art program for the children in Acorn Hook, South Africa, the rural area near where we live that supports the marginalized community there. Seeds of Light is the name of our humanitarian arm. And we started this art program for the kids, and it has been one of the most rewarding things of my entire life. We started teaching the children under an oak tree, and every week more kids came until there were hundreds of kids, and then we had to buy a building and renovate it to teach the art classes. And now, 25 years later, some of those kids are teaching art, and the art program has expanded into local schools. And we're watching these kids become adults and flourish, and some of them are making a living out of their art. But it's literally, we watch it change the community. The empowerment of these children as they become adults has empowered that community tremendously. And it's a whole topic for another time. I won't go into it here. But it felt important to share that with you somehow today, since I wanted to talk about art. And just as an aside, I'm not selling anything, but if you do buy any of the sacred art, a percentage of the proceeds goes to the children's art program. So do consider that, if you want the art, go for it. It's all going to support the children and our nonprofit. All right, that was a tangent. To come back to the topic, um, the way I look at this is that we are all aspects of the Creator. And I think that is such a beautiful word for what most people call God. God has a lot of connotations to it. And I know that the indigenous people use the word creator. And I really love that because the truth is that we, as each of our individual human selves, are sparks of that divine creator flame. So we get to come in and incarnate into this exquisitely beautiful, this extraordinary world of illusion that seems so real. And we get to believe we're separate and alone. And I mean, even though that's not the truth of who we are, we get to become these little mini creators, these little mini creator gods within this dream world. Um, we are these little mini creator gods, and we're playing this extraordinarily realistic game. We're creating, we're moving energy, we're learning, just like I was describing, we teach the children, we can pull creative solutions out from within at any time when we know who we are, when we know we're these little creator beings. So creativity, so important for our times. And what's the opposite? What's the opposite of creativity? Creation. I'm pausing because I want you to answer. You can answer inwardly, but um, the opposite I use is destruction. Creation and destruction. Those are the two opposites. And isn't that an important polarity for our times? I feel like in terms of human evolution, we're just like little 2-year-olds who need to go through that phase of learning about destruction by tearing down their little tower of building blocks and feel the joy of the destruction, you know, and learn what that's about. And we, as a species, are learning that lesson. We're learning about destruction. Some people are having a ball. Some people are thrilled. It's all they can do to refrain from cackling with glee about all the destruction that's being wrought upon our world. Um, so I would imagine that all of us here today are wondering, when are we going to learn that lesson, and when are we going to be done with it? We being humanity. When will we finally be done with war? And when will we be able to live in a world of peace? And I guess my message for today, what I know to be true deep in my bones, is that that's what's coming. You know, we are evolving into a planet of peace, even though it doesn't look like it. But that is the purpose of our evolution. So it is coming, and it begins inside each of us. That's how it starts with each of us as individuals. And I believe exploring our creative side is an essential part of that. So if you don't have a creative outlet, I do highly recommend finding one, practicing some kind of art, some kind of creative expression, because it's what it moves the creative energy through the body. It creates this flow of divine energy, and it helps us to wake up to who we truly are. Like I said, it's that we're that spark of that divine creator flame, and practicing art helps us to be conscious of that and embody that. Okay. I feel like we're complete with today's topics. And so I'd like to move into the question and sharing part. I want to thank everybody for all the questions and heartfelt sharing that you sent to me. I always appreciate hearing from you. As I said before, if you're new, the way it works is you can send an email to courses@corelight.org with any sharing or any questions. I read everything. It's not possible for me to answer every question, but I get to as many of them as I can. And if your question doesn't get answered by me, it always is answered in some way, whether it's a dream or a teacher or a book or some kind of insight in meditation or whatever. Our first question is from Nikki. Actually, Nikki had two questions. I want to thank you, Nikki. I really enjoyed reading your letter. Thank you for taking the time to write and to share what you're doing. It sounds like you're really doing some very important work in the world, and I'm grateful to you for your service and for all that you shared with me. God bless you. I really hold you in my heart and wish you well with all the important work that you're doing in birthing this new paradigm. It sounds like you're on the front lines in many ways. So Nikki's first question is, are planets our material, quote unquote, schools? Are planets our material schools? So the answer to your question is yes. A lot of people refer to planet Earth as schoolroom Earth. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it that way. Many people talk about it that way. And it's true for many other planets as well, not just Earth. You know, our souls, when we incarnate into a physical reality, any reality, whether it's planet Earth or another planet, it's that dense material world that really helps us to learn and grow and evolve as souls. It's why we come here. We come to learn the lessons of the material world and have those experiences in the schoolroom of the material world that supports the soul evolution over many, many lifetimes. Um, I guess I can say I'm also aware that planet Earth, from what I've been told and from what I know to be true inside me, is that it is one of the densest realities in the entire universe. It's an illusion, but it seems so incredibly real. Can you relate? It's like you tap on the table and it's sure seems real. These bodies, you pinch them and you feel it, you poke them and they bleed. It sure feels very real. Um, it's just a world of such beauty and also such ugliness, the exquisite, sublime beauty, and then the horrors of war and the ugliness of that. It's a roller coaster ride. It's not for the faint of heart, planet Earth. Um, I'm imagining everybody's relating to what I'm saying. Have you ever watched Star Trek and seen the episodes with the holodeck? If you haven't, the holodeck is on the Starship Enterprise, and it's basically it's a room, but it's a hologram, and it seems like a whole world. It seems like a whole reality. It's like a reality simulator, and it's basically a very realistic hologram, and you can experience any time or any place you like when you go there, but none of it's real. It's just a hologram. So I find that is one of the best metaphors for planet Earth that I've ever come across. That and the Matrix movies are very, very apt metaphors. Um, so those are the metaphors for souls incarnating into a physical reality. We're not these physical bodies. These are temporary. They seem real, but they're not. One day we're going to drop them like slipping off an overcoat, and then we remain as our true soul essence. And I was reminded of that earlier this year. I think it was the February weather report where I shared I had a near-death experience in January. I left my body, and I was just reminded, oh my gosh, it's so easy to die. It's like just boom, you can just let the body go. And then when you're on the other side, no worries. It's just beautiful world of light. I don't mean to scare anybody. That's certainly not my intention, but just as a reminder that, that's what's real is the soul essence. That's what remains. None of the rest of this is the truth. I mean, it has its reality. I don't want to, downplay that. I don't want to belittle anybody who's having intense physical experiences. It's got its reality, this dimension. Um, but the ultimate truth is that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience here in this material reality, and that's true whether it's planet Earth or some other planet. Um, and I think it's worth mentioning that, as I always say, this is a particularly intense planet, especially now, because we're at this great turning, moving from the what some people call the third density or the third dimension into the new paradigm of the heart. And I've spoken about this before, but it's like I don't know if you can see me. No, you can't. But the diaphragm, the solar plexus, is the representation of the third density, third dimension. And the movement is through this area here between the diaphragm and the heart. And it's this thick, dense layer in consciousness. And it's represented in the physical body by the thick density of the diaphragm. And it's the biggest leap in consciousness that any individual or any species can ever make, moving from the third dimension into the heart. So we here on planet Earth are the show of the millennia for the whole universe. I'm told all eyes are on us. Like, what is going to happen next on planet Earth? This area here between the heart and the solar plexus is known as Heaven's Gate. Some call it the knot of Vishnu in ancient times. In Sanskrit, that's what it was called in the yogic traditions. But it's a well-known it's a well-known journey. It's a well-known shift, that individuals make into their enlightenment. This is the major step, moving from the third dimension where we're learning lessons about power and the abuse of power into the heart where we learn lessons about love. Put in a nutshell, as I always say, it's about moving from the love of power into the power of love. So, yes, to answer your question, Nikki, you know, the extraordinary soul evolution that we have the capacity to learn at a time like this, in a place like this, where there's the turning of the ages, it's beyond anything we can actually imagine. And I guess I would add to all of that. I know that there are other planets where it's not as intense. We incarnate on other planets to have a different kind of fun. Like this is a roller coaster. It can be really scary as well as really joyful. But we go to other planets that are, for lack of a better word, probably known as vacation planets. Where we go to just enjoy ourselves in a much more leisurely way. Um, so we might choose a lifetime on a vacation planet to take a break from some very intense lifetimes here on planet Earth. I'm imagining after this lifetime is done and we've made the leap into the heart, we're probably all going to go to, to a vacation planet, and I'll see you there. I hope it has uh, coconut palm trees and white sand and lovely, calm, warm salt water. And I know there are also astral planets. Yogananda, in his book Autobiography of a Yogi, he talks about a planet called Loka, which is an astral planet. And the beauty, the way he describes that planet, it's just sheer beauty and joy. And so many different planets of the billions and billions of galaxies in our universe. So many planets to choose from, and I can't even begin to imagine what most of them hold for us. I've spoken about a few, but you can imagine there's probably unlimited kinds of experiences of materialism that we can experience wherever we go. All right, let's go to Nikki's second question. Last month, you talked about Dr. Stephen Greer's scale of planetary evolution. When a civilization gets closer to level 10, does the planet become a star? Since at stage 10, everything and everyone is fully awakened. So would there be no more illusory materialism, just gas? Well, I think a lot of people on our planet are full of gas. No, in all seriousness, thank you for your question. It's a really good question. So before I answer it, first of all, for anybody who's not familiar with Dr. Greer's scale of planetary evolution, we talked about it on the last weather report. So I'm not going to repeat that here. If you're not familiar with it and you want to know about it, you might want to go check out last month's weather report, July 2026. It's something that I just find endlessly fascinating and very important for our times. Um, so, Nikki, I can see where you're coming from with your question, but the answer is no. I know that that's not how it works, at least to my understanding. That's not how it works. I'm not a physicist. I don't claim to understand how the birthing of a star works. But I think the really important point that you're raising here is about the nature of light in general. And a level 10 civilization is where everybody on the planet is enlightened. And if you just look at that word, enlightened, it's got light in it. Enlightenment, illumination, luminosity, radiance. These are all references to subtle light and energy. And as we evolve spiritually, we're developing that spiritual light and building that spiritual energy. And I found it interesting that you brought this up right now because, like I said at the beginning of the call, we just created this very, very sweet little video, a compilation video of Leslie talking about the marriage of spirit. It's such a sweet little video. It's 3 minutes. I invite you to go watch it. Because Leslie refers to this very thing in that video. Um, it's not just in the marriage of spirit course, it's in other courses that it's one of the foundational teachings. It's about building our light and reducing the ways that our light gets drained. Those are the keys to the spiritual awakening journey. And we go deeply into those principles in almost all of our online courses that we teach, but especially the marriage of spirit and the spiritual warrior training. But a highly evolved, very conscious being literally radiates light. And it's not metaphorical, it's an observable phenomenon. If you're sensitive and if you can see or feel energy, you can often see a beautiful golden white light radiating around an enlightened teacher. If you've ever had the blessing of sitting with an enlightened teacher, that sometimes is the case. Many people have that experience. And an enlightened teacher can transmit that light, can share that light with others. That was always Leslie's really, really powerful, beautiful gift that she shared with her groups. And it's why people came from all over the world to sit in meditation with her, was to receive that light because it's so uplifting, it's so blissful, it's so healing to receive that divine light. Um, and I hope you get to feel it on these calls. We generate together. I don't claim to be the one doing it. I mean, I do help, but we all do it together, creating this field of love and light that surrounds us. Um, so I really do hope everybody can feel that. But you don't need an enlightened teacher to give that to you because you can develop that yourself. That is the primary teaching. It's not about becoming dependent on a teacher to give you light. It's about developing the light within you, because then you get to share it with other people. This is the illumination. This is enlightenment. This is how the planet wakes up. It was funny in kind of pondering your question, Nikki. It was funny. I was thinking about how we use that word star to refer to movie stars. And I think it comes from some of them are highly evolved souls and they really do radiate a beautiful light and they shine like a star when they want to. I'm not saying they're enlightened, but they know how to work with energy and light. They literally channel their character and they can channel light. And I've met a few like that. I'm hesitating whether to tell you this story or not. When in the 1980s, when I was an actor in Los Angeles, and to earn extra income in between jobs, mostly commercials and TV shows, I parked cars at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and it was a very illuminating experience. I won't go into the details, but I met a few of the movie stars, and there were different kinds. A handful of them, just a few, truly radiated light like a star. One of them was Omar Sharif. He was just this extraordinarily radiant being. And another one is Meryl Streep. She just glows, at least in the 1980s. I don't know about now. Um, but anyway, that's an aside. I really think that word star is overused because I think it's a very rare person who can embody the light in that way. It doesn't have to be a movie star. We refer to, we even say, you're such a star. And that means you radiate light. So to conclude, I guess what I would say is consciousness does have a photonic element to it. Um, I think that's what you're really referring to with your question. So a level 10 Earth filled with many enlightened souls, illumined souls, it would not undergo, the physical, like the gravitational collapse into becoming a star, but it would certainly radiate. It would radiate some kind of extraordinary amount of coherent, conscious light, and it would shine across the galaxy. It would become like a beacon to other civilizations. And so that's where we're headed. That is our destiny as a species, as a planet, is into that illumination, to have an illuminated planet, an illuminated species, and becoming a beacon of light. So I like to think of it this way. Um, the star is converting physical matter into photons of light, but a level 10 planet would be converting separation into unity. And that conversion process is what we're talking about. That's literally radiant. Okay. I hope that's helpful. Nikki, thank you so much for your excellent questions and for sharing your story with me. And thank you to everybody who's tuning in now or in the future. Thank you to everybody who has written in and shared with me or, uh, um, yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm deeply grateful to you, and what a joy to experience this field of love with you. I think we're complete for today. Let us begin now with our final guided meditation and prayer. Okay, I invite you now to close your eyes. Take a few long, slow, deep breaths, and deeply relax with each exhale. Breathing in all the love and the light that surrounds you, and breathing out any mind stuff that this conversation might have stirred up. Just emptying out with each exhale. Let's make an offering right now to Great Spirit of any polarities we've been talking about. I know we talked about creation and destruction, war and peace, love and fear, connection and disconnection. There was probably more, but those are the ones I'm remembering right now. So let's make an offering to Great Spirit of those polarities, and we release them, we let them go, and we call in the ascended balance states of gratitude, joy, unconditional love, universal peace. May we embody these qualities ourselves as individuals, and may they manifest on planet Earth. Help us to do our part of midwifing the new paradigm of the heart in our own personal lives and in the collective. I'm going to read CORELIGHT'S prayer for peace. From the place of connectedness in us all, our hearts unite for peace in the world. May my thoughts, words, and deeds, and the hearts of all people be moved by compassion and forgiveness, directed by love for humanity and the earth. May leaders find solutions that benefit everyone equally. We call in blessings, protection, and courage for all working for universal peace, especially for whistleblowers, for people in government, and those in positions of power. We call on the power of grace, and we give thanks, knowing that this is so. And let's offer another special prayer for all the areas of our planet affected by war and terrorism and genocide. And that's the Middle East, Ukraine and Russia, and many other places. I invite you to name them all yourself internally right now. And let's visualize and feel a blessing from our hearts blanketing Mother Earth and blessing all life, the whole of the natural world, including humans, because we are part of the natural world, even though we forget it. We think we're separate and disconnected, but we are indeed part of the natural world. Remember, storms will pass and your light will remain. So I invite you to keep your heart steady, to breathe in peace, and to stay on your surfboard. And I will meet you again on the next spiritual weather report, which will be October 25th. We're going to skip September, as I mentioned. So I invite you now to bring your energy back into the room and into your body. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. I want to thank you once again, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you. This is such a delight. I always look forward to our time together, even if you're not here in real time. If you're listening in the future, we are all here together. There's no such thing as time and space at that level. So we're all in the field of love together right here, right now. Thank you. I love you, and I'll look forward to seeing you again. Some of you in person when I come to do physical events in the United States, and some of you, I'll see you for the Marriage of Spirit course that starts on September 9th. Tune in if you feel guided to join me there. I'd love to see you there. I welcome you. And otherwise, I'll be with you in October for the weather report at the end of the month. I love you. Bye for now.